I wanna start this video off with the obvious. We are already a whole month into the new year now and this has only now gotten finished. That was mostly due to Lord procrastinating all the time, but let's not talk about that too much. Ahem. This is once again another quarterly stats report, and this time for the last quarter of 2022. For those who don't already know, just like always we'll go over the different kinds of stats that we, Stats Gang, were able to gather during the quarter and talk about a few special occurrences that happened here and there while we present you our data. And with that out of the way, let's start the Q4 stats report. Hey all, Venom here again with our Q4 Endurance/BCB report. Just to refresh, this report will be going over all the games Nagzz either did a full playthrough of, or used for an endurance week. This means any games that took over 2 streams to complete will be covered. Single stream games will not be covered. With that said, enough talk, let's get into it. To begin, our report shows the 3 full playthroughs and endurance weeks done in Q3, meaning between October 1st and December 31st. As shown above, Resident Evil 8 was the shortest of the endurance weeks at 13 hours and 54 minutes. Followed by that is, yet again, Minecraft via the RLCraft mod, shout out to the legend Shivaxi, coming up at a chunky 58 hours flat. Finally, the largest of the 3 endurance weeks clocked in at 63 hours and 42 minutes total. Cumulatively, this totals out to 135 hours and 36 minutes, with an average of 45 hours and 12 minutes across all 3. Comparatively to Q3, this is a 125% increase in both total stream time and average stream time. Here are the numbers as shown on Twitch Tracker, which provided the data you see above. No pie chart for Q4 this time around, as we have a lot more data to go over. Moving on, we're now looking at the Q4 Big Community Bet, BCB, report. In Q4 we had 2 huge community bets, those being RLCraft and Terraria. The RLCraft Endurance Week quickly reached notoriety as Shivaxi himself joined the fray and set the terms for Nagzz to overcome, which he did in as relatively narrow a fashion as can be, though it would be the Terraria Endurance Week that would finally bring an end to Nagzz's sterling 7-0 record, as he was unable to complete the challenge before the end of the week, bringing his record to 7-1. Looking into the number of bets, no real bets were made for RLCraft, but Terraria had a good handful, coming in at 35 total bets. It will be interesting to see if Nagzz will be able to keep his promise of taking his record to 10-1 without faltering. He knows what's on the line if he fails. It is once again time to see how the VTuber Reacts have changed over the course of this last quarter. And looking at this data, I am surprised to see the difference these reacts are taking. I'll start with saying that 17 videos were released this quarter, slightly less than in previous quarters. But this didn't change the fact that we still managed to retain showing more than 2 new VTubers per segment, with 37 new ones appearing over the last 3 months. Now onto the graph. If you recall the last 2, you may notice that the higher end is starting to become more filled out instead of having a small handful towering above the rest. And this table will show you just what is happening. Of those in the most featured, only half of them managed to show up more than 5 times. We also have 2 new VTubers making into the top 10, so congrats to Tenma and Pomu. Next is the table showing who appeared the most often. And as you can see, Crony is the only one to be on both this table and the top 10 for most appearances. Following her are Naimune, Fubuki, Buff Pup and Magni, who speaking of also appears on the next table along with the boys of Tempest. In fact all 4 of them are among the VTubers with the biggest changes in frequency of appearances, each taking up a spot on the top 4. Alongside them are Lana, Vienna, and Buff. I find it refreshing that we are now seeing a lot more new faces showing up in these tables, and while the big names like Finyana, Kali and Guru will likely retain their spots at the top of the most appearances for a while, the rest of the table may start to look a lot different in the next few recaps. During these last 3 months, We worked a little bit more behind the scenes on the bot, the API, and made sure to clarify a few things concerning the rules about the monthly winner. The most noticeable changes were only a few small commands that we added to give people more information when placing their bets. With that, we are now currently on offline bets version 2.3 and continuing onwards. We started off the month with a bit bigger gap between the streams due to TwitchCon NA, but nonetheless, we held up the average of around 100 bets with a maximum deviation of 16 bets. The low from the 4th of November was only caused by an earlier scheduled start, so no huge surprises there. Thanks to the Terraria Endurance Week and the later start times during December, we got a lot of high numbers with a just as big dip down to only 60 bets. Which was just one day where Nagzz said he'd start at a crazy 1 PM after streaming till like 7 AM. The most noticeable outliner for the winners though was for sure the huge number of winners during November, which was due to almost a whole week of Nagzz starting on time and a lot of people having faith in him. Of course that all just started because of another 20 subs bet, but he did go through and lowered his 5 streams average as low as 3 minutes thanks to those 4 days. The average amount of bets didn't change much from beginning to the end thanks to a lot of very strong days that outweighed the small hiccups of 75 or 60 bets. We saw a stronger decline close to the end of the year though, most likely due to the holiday season being right around the corner and people getting more and more busy, spending time with family and friends and wrapping up any loose ends. The average amount of winners was highly inflated due to the 3 PM start times though. The multiple days with 50+ winners carried the whole quarter. If we take out those few outliers, the average becomes more so the all too familiar 2 to 3 winners per stream. Overall pretty much as expected outside of the obvious. Thanks to multiple streams being cancelled or just generally without any streams due to moving related issues and TwitchCon, even the average of 100 bets wasn't able to improve the total amount of bets compared to last quarter. So, there were only 1,559 bets during October, 1,858 during November and 1,664 during December, combining to a total of 5,081 bets in Q4 of 2022. Still an improvement of around 11% compared to last month though. And last but not least, we got 48 winners during October, 215 during November and 33 during December, combining to a total of 296 winners. Shockingly, the 3 PM week during November alone contributes to more than 50% of all winners with 165 winners in only 4 days. Compared to last quarter, we more than tripled the amount of winners, but I don't expect this behavior to continue towards the next quarter as this was a very special case. Hey Nagzz and chat, this is the 4th quarter of the Seagull stream report. Your averages over these 3 months was 19, 15, and 44 minutes late, resulting in a 26 minutes quarterly average, heavily influenced by your terrible December performance. Compared to 2021, your average was worse by 13 minutes, being exactly double of 2021's 13-minute 4th quarter. However, you did have an astounding run in November, being on time 5 times total, and having a streak of 4 in a row. On the other hand, December was an all-time low for you, ending up with a late start of 3 hours and 6 minutes, due to having issues with Terraria. Speaking of, Terraria Endurance Week was a terrible week for you, as over the 5 those days your average was 1 hour and 43 minutes late. While Endurance Weeks have had less than good impacts on your start times, this one in particular was quite rough. And now for something a little bit special. The Q4 2022 new Pog graduation ceremony. Please people clap for the Hivemind members who had their 6-year sub anniversary in the past quarter. Good evening everyone. This is Brian speaking on behalf of the Hivemind. I am so excited to be here today, celebrating with all of our new graduates. Today, we are honoring those who have reached an important milestone in their journey as Hivemind members. I would like to take a moment to give a special shout out to our new Pogs. In just a short while, You may also find yourself in this very same place that our fresh graduates find themselves today. You have all the reasons to be excited. But back to the stars of today's event, our Q4 2022 Hivemind graduates that officially left the new Pog nest and joined the rank of Maltfia regulars. Congratulations on reaching 6 months of enrollment. This is a huge accomplishment and one that should be celebrated. We know that being a part of the Hivemind can be challenging at times, but you have shown dedication and commitment to making it this far. We appreciate all of the support and engagement you bring to our community. You keep all of us young and fresh, ready for new adventures and challenges. As you continue on your journey, we hope that you will continue to be active and engaged members of the Maltfia. We look forward to seeing all of the amazing content and interactions that you will bring to the Hivemind in the future. As one of the last few classes of your generation, you are now on the forefront of welcoming an all-new one. Once again, congratulations to our graduating new Pogs on this incredible achievement. Keep up the great work. You are the future. Make the best of it. From all of us, congratulations. And thank you.
Testing all like that. Hit me in the face and I'm hitting right back. I enjoy the chase so I'll stay on track. Yeah, I enjoy the race so I'll make that bag. Got a lot of dreams that I'll make come true. Got a lot of things that I wanna do. Got a lot of goals that I wanna prove. And there's not a lot of time so I gotta make moves.
Now for the data on raids. As you may remember, in the beginning of November, Nagzz added restrictions to raids, so this quarter is the last one to still feature offline raids. In the past 3 months, we had 301 raids by 137 channels with a bit over 54,000 raiders in total. Here you can see a snippet of the data, sorted and ranked by different criteria. Compared to last quarter's 333 raids by 118 channels with almost 60,000 raiders, we had a slight decline, but we're still in the same ballpark. The top of the respective leaderboards saw little change. Azula still has the most raids, while Lily seems to have no intention of letting anyone else get to the top spot in the other categories. In fact, she improved all her metrics in this quarter and single-handedly brought 42% of all raiders to the channel. The names are barely readable, but that will most likely change next quarter. Looking at average raid size, we can see that only 19 channels are above the average line, and only 55 fulfill the new raid minimum. So that is going to cut off 60% of the graph.
Did I jump scare you? Yeah, I bet I did, you coward.
Well, Nagzz, I gave you a challenge last time. That was to fall below 2021's numbers for total damage to deskslams, which I said meant you needed to do less than 9,000 over the course of 3 months, which would average to around 3k per month, which would be more than your average at the time. Shall we see if he managed to do it, chat? Nagzz, pause at the ready. You fucking Pepega, look what you did to poor deskslams this quarter. You only managed to break your previous record for most damage dealt in a month every single time this quarter and set a new record for damage to deskslams over 3 months of 9,610. Ahem, where was I? Ah yes. Like I said previously, this quarter sadly marks a new record for most damage dealt in a quarter this year easily. In fact, the next closest was Q3, which is over 2,000 HP of damage behind, with a similar story for total slams per month. But how did this happen? Well, that's the thing. If you take a look at the graph for where slams come from, you can see that it was just an increased frequency there. Not even our L-Craft Auto area come close to matching numbers from previous quarters. Instead we have to move over to damage data. And Well, see for yourself. See that massive one the week just before Terraria? Well, that was the Friday, and let me very quickly just show you what happened that day.
It's a fucking tumor. I fucking can't!
Yeah, that was certainly a day to remember, especially because you broke your all-time record for most damage dealt in a single stream that day, beating your previous record, which previously was 618, your new PB is 895. I'll save the bigger numbers for later, just to show you how things close were in the end. But I'll finish by saying I hope the next deskcon gets treated better than the last one. You have been through a lot, but now your time is coming to a long-deserved end. Oh 7 deskcon, your sacrifices these last few years have not gone unnoticed. Now it is time for the sound redeems for the last quarter of the year. I was not part of the previous quarterly recap, and as such, I can only compare my data accurately on Q2 recap. With this being the last time sound redeems are included, chat tried to make December as difficult for me as possible. However, they were unsuccessful. Nag point. I will go more in depth on that in my own recap when I get around to post it, but for now, let's see what you guys got up to in the last part of the year 2022. This quarter saw some amazing moments, from great success to utter failure. Not going to say which Nagzz had more, but chat knows which it is. Q2 recap only consisted of 2 months, but even with an extra month now in chat's disposal, they could not pass the previous amount of redeems made. This quarter had 52 streams, not counting T2/T3 streams, in which chat made in total 2,635 redeems. That is just 98 short of the Q2 record of 2,733 redeems made. With 2,635 redeems, it makes in total 26,350,000 coins spent, and on average, around 510,000 coins spent and 51 redeems made each stream. As you can see, Nagzz, with such heavy spending on redeems, we could not possibly afford to spend 2 mauled coins on your shenanigans. This quarter's redeems were spread very equally for the first 2 months, with 766 in October, and 758 in November. But especially after hearing about my retirement, you guys went above and beyond with redeems and made a good push for the last month, reaching 1,111 redeems in total in December. Looking at the weekly comparison, we can clearly see 3 highlights during the quarter. Coincidentally, 2 of the 3 also happen to be endurance weeks, RL Craft Week having 324 redeems, and Terraria Week whopping 600 redeems. With the third one was during Resident Evil playthrough with 294 redeems. Other than that, the amount of redeems seems to have been pretty even, going both sides of 150 redeems. Last week's 63 redeems is mainly due to your best stream of the year, 5-minute still image meme stream. Now looking at what chat actually redeemed, we can clearly see that with no surprise, Emotional Damage Song redeem was the most redeemed alert with 1,002 redeems in total, which was 38.03% of all redeems made. Second most was Honk with 245 redeems. These 2 have always been fan favorites and seem to continue to be so. 4 other redeems also managed to pass the 100 threshold, being Snore with 179, Applause with 156, Captain with 130 and JoJo with 124 redeems. Who Omega Lul with 45 and Crickets with 48 redeems had least redeems this quarter. Other redeems have spread somewhat equally across the board, once again showing that there really isn't a single redeem that chat doesn't have a use for. For the last part, let's look at how redeems were used segment-wise. Now, like before, I have divided streams into 4 categories: just chatting, gaming, muted, and offline redeems. This quarter both just chatting and gaming reached the 1,000 redeems mark, with 1,059 redeems made during gaming and 1,303 redeems made during just chatting. In total there were 193 muted redeems, and during these 3 months, 81 offline redeems were made, most of them being by the editor of this video, Makijaaa the asshole. I won't go too deep into the redeem-specific stats on this since this part has already taken way too long of the video, but I'll just say that Emotional Damage Song had the most redeems in all 4 categories, truly a fan favorite. That is all for the sound redeems of the Q4. I really have nothing special to note here. Like you all are aware, these recaps are my last work before retirement. I will still take part in Stats Gang's yearly recap, my own December recap and also my own more comprehensive year recap. My only wish for the upcoming year is new sound alerts, to spice things up, but this time I would not be counting them. Smile. Hey Nagzz and Chad. It's me again, Zodiac, with the Weeb Points for the final quarterly stats report of this year. This report, as always, will give you an update over the Weeb Points given and taken from Nagzz over Q4 of 2022. Over the last 3 months 1,702,902 messages were written in chat, which is 61,514 messages less than last quarter. Of those 12,152 messages were about Weeb Points, which is a decrease of 142 messages to last quarter. Our top commented stream was on the 15th of December with 51,170 comments over 14.7 hours. But because of the long stream time, this is only about 3,472.815021491592 comments per hour. If we look at the most comments per hour, we have the 30th of December as our top stream with 1,465 comments over 4 minutes and 42 seconds, which makes an average of 18,702 messages per hour. This is followed by the 13th of October with 8,622.7 comments per hour and 47,777 messages overall over 5.54 hours. Looking at your Weeb Points shows that you seem to improve every quarter, or chat just forgot that minus points exist. Combining the 235,414 points of October, the 142,779 points of November and finally the 50,740 points of December, shows that you gained 428,933 Weeb Points this quarter. This puts you at an average of 7,943 points gained per stream. Now, as my last part, we have the top people who took and gave points to you this quarter. For the positive side we have S_Maxwell in first place sitting at 26,824 points. Followed by Nerodblood and Sumo Rocks in second and third place with 23,853 and 22,346 points respectively. For the negative side we have Lil_at, Tiago Sama and Flying Halo 27 with minus 18,165, minus 16,536 and minus 15,452 points, still sitting in the first 3 places. Once again, we've reached the end of our little presentation. I'm sure it's gotten quite long now in the end, but there are just that many things to talk about with this community. Just like last time, I can talk for everyone when I say that it was amazing to work on this again, even though there were a few hiccups on the road. These reports don't only take a lot of time to work on but mainly motivation, since all of us either got school, work or something similar at the side that we also work on along the way, but we do these for you all even though we aren't perfect either. And for sure some things could have been handled better. We hope this has been the best report so far and you've all found it very enjoyable. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you what we already did quite well, but even more so what and how we can improve on this, since we want to make it the best it can be. Again though, huge thanks to everyone who worked on this, all the people who gathered the stats, who helped us out, the mod team who provided us with the resources and freedom in the Discord server to work efficiently as a team, and of course Nagzz and chat who provided us with the data. You can look forward to the next one though, which will hopefully be the big yearly recap of 2022, which was already an idea over a year ago and sparked this whole project. We have yet to finish it since it covers a whole lot more than we normally do, but it should be a nice finish to the year 2022. Now let's wrap this up though. Thanks to everyone for listening and see you soon. Until then, chat.